Thank you.
Let's jump into Pokemon Go because it's going to be a long podcast.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to be a long podcast. So Pokemon Go, it's been about 3 weeks.
Yes, it has. Yep, just about 3 weeks.
So about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenon. I don't know at this point how much justice I can really even do talking about it in a podcast. You guys probably know about Pokemon Go. And honestly, it's taken over the lives of so many people that we know. It's taken over the Nintendo community. It's brought people that you would never imagine, including my dad, by the way, which is strange. It's brought these people that you never would imagine, like, to play a Nintendo or a Pokemon game, and it's brought them together to, like, talk about this together. Just recently, I got a text from my dad asking me how to evolve his Eevee, and I'm like, this is the best text I think I've ever gotten. It's amazing. It brought me back to when I was 10, because when I was 10, the original Pokemon series came out, and I was a huge Pokemon fan. But that's how big this phenomenon is at this point. We happen to be right at, like, the center point of this massive hub of Pokemon Go stops, or Pokestops.
Which is amazing because we don't live in a huge city. We live in, it's a fairly small city.
Yeah.
But it's very active when it comes to people walking around outside. And I'm used to seeing people outside. But I remember the very first day when Pokemon Go launched here and you were really excited to get out there. So we walked out there, and sure enough, I was actually filming you at the time walking across this bridge playing, and you happened to bump into these 4 people.
Yeah.
And then you waved me over, and you're like, they're playing Pokemon Go too. And I thought, oh, that's so strange.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to, in our world, I feel like right here, it's very condensed. You know, with our work and everything, what we talk about is condensed to either our team or online or going to conventions and whatnot. But to be able to just walk outside and see strangers, and especially people who probably haven't either ever played Pokemon or haven't played in many years, act like it's a very natural thing. Like they've been doing it all along. Yeah. I think that's the most amazing thing to me. And to be able to connect with these people, and like you said, like with your dad, who is a completely different generation. And for me, it's seeing the younger people, and even the people from our generation, though, who I thought, well, you've shown no interest, zero interest in Nintendo, as far as I know. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, everybody's this huge fan.
So I completely agree. And here's the thing about Pokemon Go. When I was, again, I mentioned this before, when I was 10, Pokemon first came out. I really got into it when I was about 11. Yeah. And probably until I was like 12, 13. When we were on the playground as kids, we would be talking about, like, what Pokemon did you catch? What rare Pokemon did you find? Is there any rumors about, like, where's Mew? Or, you know, where are these legendary Pokemon? Is there Pika-Blue in the game? Which was this other huge rumor that came out. And it's so weird now, we're 20 years later, and we were kids back then. We were just kids. And I'm seeing some of the same people that I used to play with when I was a kid, and they have their own kids, and their own kids are running around catching Pokemon. And not just any Pokemon, not the new Pokemon, not Sun and Moon. No. We're talking about the original 151. Yeah. We're talking about Gen 1, the same kids I played with. Yeah. They're passing the torch to their kid. And there's something amazing about that. I have a 3-year-old daughter who is really good at throwing the Pokeball, and there's just this, like, massive swell of pride.
Genetics.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's what's really cool about Pokemon, and that's what's cool that it's been able to, like, bridge this gap. Yeah. And not a lot of franchises can do that. No. You know, maybe Disney, but not a lot of franchises, at least in gaming, can really, like, bridge that generational gap.
And not just seeing, like, the new people come in, but seeing a lot of the older people who were in the very first generation, like us. We ran into our high school science teacher.
Yeah, we did. Mr. Spriggs. Yes, we love you.
We ran into him, and then, I mean, I loved him in high school.
Yeah,
I thought he was a fantastic teacher.
Like top 2 teachers.
He was one of those teachers who knew how to talk to kids in a way that you knew he was an authority figure, but at the same time, he was relatable. Yep. And sure enough, he became even more relatable when I found out that he was a Pokemon tournament player. Yep. He played the trading card game. And he's gone around and he's participated in tournaments, I believe he said nationwide.
Yeah, he did.
And I was just, really? That's amazing. And he was just as excited about Pokemon Go as we were. And to see him after, oh my gosh, it's been like 15 years or so since I was in high school. Yeah. And to see him, though, it was surreal.
It was really cool.
And to talk, I think we talked with him for like 45 minutes or something like that.
It was actually funny because there was a guy sitting next to us who happened to go to the same high school.
Yeah.
He graduated, I think, like 8 or 9 years after the fact that we did.
Yeah.
But he was like, oh my God, I think that's our science teacher. Or I think that's my science teacher. I'm like, dude, I went to the same school as you. It's amazing.
Like, that's so strange that we happen to be sitting next to somebody who went to our high school, and we all noticed that there's this high school teacher there too. So Pokemon Go is definitely one of those things that is bringing people together in a really cool way. There are some other stories out there, though, floating around where it's not having, you know, the most positive impacts.
Yeah, I think Nintendo Wire, we mentioned, I think, maybe one story where somebody like ran into a parked cop car. And we published that because we have to. That's amazing. It's like right into a cop car. What's the chances? Yeah. Glad nobody was hurt, obviously. But there's so much more good than there is bad.
So much more good than there is bad. But it's always interesting to hear that mix in there. But what's your favorite part of Pokemon Go so far?
There's a few things, and I think a lot of it has to do with the mystery behind Pokemon Go. If you know anything about Pokemon Go, there are Pokemon that are going to be unique to certain regions. In the United States, we have Tauros, which is the lamest of them, in my opinion. In Europe, you have Mr. Mime, which is perfect. Yeah. I mean, it's perfect. You have Farfetch'd in China, and you have Kangaskhan in Australia, New Zealand. Yeah. So I like the idea that those are only attainable, either, from what I understand, either through hatching a 10K egg or going to one of those countries. So I love that. But I think the most exciting thing for me about Pokemon Go, it's not the walking, it's not the interacting, it's just the plain old mysteries. And the mystery that I'm referring to is Ditto. Ditto is the only Pokemon that's not a legendary that has yet to be discovered in the game. So Ditto is either A, a South American exclusive, or B, he is somehow hiding, or he is like a transformed Pokemon if you encounter him in the wild. Yeah. And the idea that we don't know how to find him, and we know he's in the game code, and we know based on people that scrubbed the game code that you can catch him. Yeah. He has a catch rate. It adds this amazing sense of wonder. And it's the same wonder where's Mew in the original Red Blue? Is he under the truck? People have actually looked under trucks already for Mew in this game. They're like, okay, go under a truck, put the AR camera on. I hope that it's just not something like he's a South American exclusive. I hope it's not that simple. Yeah. I like the mystery, and I think the mystery is what keeps people coming back. Yeah, I think so too. This is going to be something, when somebody discovers it, it's going to bring so many people back outside playing. Because since Pokemon Go launched, there was this huge period of oh my God, there's 150 people outside my window right now. And then it slowly started going down. Yep, and then down. Right on, on the weekends now, we still see between 50 and 60 people out there playing.
Even last night, there were 100 people out there in the park playing. And so you have these waves of people coming out, but it's definitely not as intense as it was during that first week or so. We were talking about this before, and I really think that, like you said, if they can roll out updates, even one update a month regularly, I think they can maintain that audience. But if they don't keep things steady, I think there's a good chance that it's just going to continue kind of withering away.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they're going to, and I think they're not going to let this cash cow dry out, especially now that we know that Pokemon Go Plus has been delayed until September, which is strange. There wasn't any official announcement, but apparently Game Informer reached out to Nintendo. Nintendo said that it was delayed not because of the hardware, but they needed to get the software ready for the device. So the rumor that I'm hearing right now is that Apple was fine, and they had to get they need to work on a patch for Android for it to work properly. And hopefully they do something where you can actually use this device without having the app open, because that's kind of the whole point. Yeah. I've actually tried having Pokemon Go open in my pocket. Yes. And almost 9 times out of 10 when I take it back out, it's froze. Oh. So I'm thinking it has something to do with the GPS. It can't find it, and then the game freezes. So I just don't see what the point of an accessory is that says, oh, you don't have to have your phone out, but you still have to have your phone out. What's the point? Yeah. Unless you have like an armband or something. But they're all the promotional material for this thing had businessmen wearing it on their you see a guy in a suit and tie and he has one on. You can't have your phone out in a business meeting or obviously while driving. So I'm hoping we see major changes from the app. Yes. I mean, it's brand new.
Yeah.
It's brand new. They're going to roll out improvements.
To kind of help, I guess, keep the excitement alive, I'm hoping that they at least give us more information on that between now and the time of its release.
Yeah.
You know, something to keep us entertained the entire time.
Yep. I mean, we still have the legendary birds. We still have Mew. We still have Mewtwo. And we still have Ditto.
Yeah.
And then we have Gen 2 and Gen 3 and Gen 4 and Gen 5.
And you speculated when you thought Gen 2 was going to be coming out.
I'm thinking we're going to see, like, before, and this is, I think they want to get people excited for Pokemon by the time Sun and Moon comes out.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to start to see things happening before Sun and Moon launches.
Okay.
So I was thinking like on a 6-month rotational period, we're going to start seeing like major updates on this game.
Now, speaking of related to other Pokemon with the whole franchise and everything, I'm finding it really interesting that there has been this spark of interest when it comes to the 3DS and other Pokemon games, whether it be Sun and Moon or the old school games that were recently released, Yellow, Red, and Blue.
Oh, yeah.
And what's interesting is that stories been floating around online. I've been on Reddit and the 3DS Reddit, and people have been saying that in their regions, and I think particularly like the UK, they're having an extra difficult time locating a new 3DS systems in stores.
That's bizarre to me.
It's very interesting because other people are speculating, well, there's this boost of interest all of a sudden because everyone's like, oh, Pokemon Go, I like this, and all of a sudden they want to know more about it.
Yeah.
Or they want to relive their childhoods like we do. And they go to the store and they buy the new systems and they buy the new games, they're pre-ordering the games. So it's really interesting to see this kind of like these repercussions in a very positive way for Nintendo.
I agree. It's interesting because I mean we obviously saw the news that Nintendo's stock went up by this astronomical amount, and if you know anything about how the Pokemon Company works, how Niantic works, and how Nintendo works, Nintendo had very little to do with the development of this game. And people were buying the stock thinking, oh my god, Nintendo had everything to do with this. And there was this major sell-off a couple days ago, and it lost, like, not all of its gains, but it lost a lot of its gains. And it's calling into question, like, how people invest. So it's really interesting because it's good to see Nintendo, like, get, like, handheld sales out of this.
Definitely.
But I think the biggest thing that we need to take away from this is that the Pokemon Company and Niantic are the two companies that are really profiting the most from this. So I'm hoping that we're going to see with Nintendo's next mobile games, you have Fire Emblem and you have Animal Crossing. Obviously, both of those games don't have the widespread appeal that Pokemon does. I don't think we're going to see the same kind of phenomenon that we see with Pokemon Go. But hopefully that Nintendo's going to take like at least some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to take a look at what happened here with Pokemon Go and like take a page from that playbook. Yeah. So who knows?
I think overall it's a positive thing.
I agree.
Great things are happening here, and it's nice to see with the delay of the NX that we have something Nintendo related to kind of cling on to and to see grow little by little as we wait for something as important as the NX.
Yeah. Before we move off Pokemon Go, I want to ask you, what was your favorite Pokemon catch that you've had so far?
Oh, you know, it's going to be funny. It's funny because it's an obvious one, and it's one that's probably very common in other areas, but it's not extremely common here, and that's Pikachu.
Yeah.
I mean, Pikachu is the poker face of Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I wanted, you know, it was very important for me to be able to get him. And I remember you found him, and we had to walk quite a distance to get there. And that was the farthest I think we've had to walk, or at least I've had to walk to get a Pokemon that I wanted. And right now I'm really, really wanting Clefairy. Yeah. Clefairy has always been one of my favorites, especially from the first gen. But Pikachu was the other one where I thought, I have to have it. Yeah. If I'm playing this game, I mean, I just got to level 20 last night. If I get as far as I'd like to, I need Pikachu.
Of course.
And so I felt like I accomplished something when I saw Pikachu among all my other Pokemon in my Pokedex.
I'm going to tell the story behind this, by the way. And I know it's borderline controversial. We used Pokevision to find Pikachu. Pokevision, if you're not familiar, it is a website that allows you to track where Pokemon are in real time on a map, and it shows you a countdown of how long that Pokemon is going to stay spawned. So, again, borderline controversial because some people say it's cheating. I'm going to stop using it once they fix the footprint issue. And again, this is another thing I'll touch on real quick. in Pokemon Go, there is footprints underneath your Pokemon.
Which worked for the first
Yeah.
week.
And I'll give you an explanation of what it is. It's either 1, 2, or 3 footprints, and technically there's 0 if you're like right on top of it.
Yeah.
If you find a Pokemon with 3 footprints and you start walking in a direction, if it goes down to 2, you're going the right way. Mm-hmm. It worked for the first couple weeks, and then it just stopped working. Niantic is aware of it. Niantic had a Comic-Con panel, and they talked about, they're working on fixing it.
Yeah.
That being said, because you can't really use that, Pokevision is like a lot of people's way to kind of find Pokemon.
Yeah.
Is it cheating? A little bit. It's a little bit. It's a little cheating. It's not like the end of the world. You still have to like do work to go find it. So Pikachu was like 6-7 blocks away. We have big blocks in Waukesha, so it's not like simple. So that being said, it had like a 5 or 6 minute countdown, and it was going to take us like 5 to 7 minutes to get there. So we're running.
We're just gonna make it there. And luckily Jason's like, well, let's cut through this one parking lot. Yep. And so we dashed through this parking lot, crossed another street, walked down more, and sure enough, I think I had 30 seconds to get the Pikachu.
He was in the middle of the street. He was just like, that is not a safe place for a Pikachu to be.
No.
But we found it, and it was exciting.
Yes, and I think out of all my catches, that one was definitely the most memorable. And because of that experience, we had to like run so quickly to get there. And also because it's Pikachu. And he's important to me, and it made the whole game kind of come together for me that one moment.
Yeah, for me it had to be Gyarados. I was on a walk with my daughter. I was in the right place at the right time, and Gyarados was right there.
Yeah,
I caught him in my first Pokeball. He was incredibly high leveled.
Yes.
So over 1,000 CP.
I was so frustrated because you saw me right afterwards, and I said, "Can you go back? Can you see if you can get it for me too?" And then Jason dashed back there, but
it was gone.
It was gone.
But it was amazing. It was one of the coolest finds I've had. There was a Dragonite.
Yes.
Pretty much right outside the apartment, and we missed it.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Snorlax I've missed a couple times.
I got a Snorlax.
I miss Snorlax.
I'm very stoked about that.
And there's this, it's like, it taunts me. The Clefairy that I want is down the street, but it's like always within a distance that I just cannot get to in time. So right now I'm waiting for a Clefairy to pop up. And you know what's even worse? I see Clefairies on the top of local gyms.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're laughing at me like, see, you'll never get me.
I noticed that Clefairy seems to spawn right by a hospital by us.
Interesting.
I'm wondering if that has anything to do with anything, because I know that a lot of Pokemon spawn in very region-specific places.
Like
we live on a river.
Yeah.
So it's nothing but water Pokemon.
Yeah.
There's been Lapras, there's Dragonairs, there are Squirtles was a War Turtle out there last night.
Yep.
No Blastoise yet. I'm waiting for that Blastoise. But either way, Pokemon Go is absolutely nuts. Unfortunately, Pokemon Go Plus has been delayed until September.
Yeah.
If you're looking for any more information, if you go to NintendoWire.com, we have pretty much wall-to-wall coverage of Pokemon Go right now. So if you're looking for any information on Pokemon Go, you can find it there. NintendoWire.com.
Yep. Check it out.